back to EDH Deck Building. I'm your host, Demo, and it's more Strixhaven spoilers, just legendary creatures and first impressions here. So starting out today, Rutha, Mercurial Artist. 3 mana, 1, a blue, and a red. So an Izzet commander, Orc Shaman, 1/4. Pay 2, return Rutha, Mercurial Artist to its owner's hand. Copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. So it is a copy commander. I mean, it's very obvious what you want to be doing here, right? Copying instants and sorcery spells. Again, it's just a very Izzet thing to do. I thought they were going a different direction with these color combinations. The Izzet one is the only one, or Prismari, I guess, is the new name. That's the only one where it doesn't seem like they're doing that at all. They're just doing the same thing. Maybe they're leaning more heavily towards the copy aspect of it, I think. So yeah, this is very obvious what you want to be doing here. Right off the top of my head, though, the card that absolutely goes in this deck, and this is something that I saw in a Tetsamok deck once that I thought was fantastic, really awesome tech in that deck, which was Aether Vial, right? Because with your Tetsamok deck, you have to have it in your hand in order to use it. So basically you build that deck around putting it into your hand. So you'll you'll put it in play, then you don't want it to go to the command zone ever. So you want to sacrifice it, have it go to the graveyard. Then you use something like Haunted Crossroads to put it on top of your library. So then you can draw it and have it in your hand again. And you have Aether Vial in there, right? And you set your Aether Vial to 6. Every time you essentially return your Tetsamok to your hand, you can just use the Aether Vial to put it right back into play. So that's an auto-include in this deck, right? I mean, you're going to be returning to your hand all the time. So you Aether Vial, you set it to 3, and then that way you can just easily put it back into play all the time, right? I guess, is there maybe some crazy combo there where you can, I don't know, I'm thinking there's like untap spells. Maybe you can copy the untap spell to untap your Aether Vial to put Rutha back in play again, and I don't know. That's not really my thing. This is why I don't have an Izzet deck. Spell slinging and copying and storming off is not really my thing, but definitely there's going to be some people excited about this command. I don't think it's overly powerful, though. I like that they have that return it to hand thing that really keeps you from going crazy with it, right? Next up today, Extus Auric Overlord. Orzhov, a generic mana, a white, and 2 black, so 4 mana, 2/4, double strike, human warlock. That's kind of odd. Double strike for a human warlock, okay. It has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, return target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So like a recursion commander. Again, though, now you're sort of spell slinging in Orzhov colors, which is not common. However, I did make a Firja deck that was sort of that, which was an Orzhov sort of spell slinging deck, so you can do it. But this is modal, so it's red and black. It's Rakdos on the back, so that means this is a Mardu commander, so it would be Mardu spell slinging. There's definitely a lot more options that open up to you there. Return target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard to your hand. I mean, not bad. You could definitely build a deck around that. But let's see what the back does. And it is a sorcery. Oh boy. So now we have a sorcery. This is an MDFC sorcery on the back, and now we have a sorcery in the command zone. Oh, I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, I knew this is where it was going to go, right? When I was doing my Kaldheim review, and I'm like, okay, there's all these equipment in the command zone now, and you know, where does it end? Obviously it doesn't, right? Obviously you're going to get to a point where you can have any card type in the command zone. Now we have a sorcery in the command zone. I don't know how I feel about this. It's getting a little bit much, isn't it? I don't know. What do you guys think? Are we getting a little bit too far away from where we started with this format with this? Like, now we have a sorcery in the command zone. And I know I just talked about how you have your play groups, and maybe there's already someone out there who has a deck that they built around a sorcery and their play group was okay with it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting. Anyway, the card is Awaken the Blood Avatar. 8 mana. 6, a black, and a red, so Rakdos. So again, this is a Mardu commander, right? As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each creature sacrificed this way. Okay. We already have some commanders, the black one, and it's escaping me. There's the black one that does this, and then the red one, the red pirate that also has a similar effect. Of course, they're creatures. This is a sorcery. So you want to be sacrificing creatures. So obviously the sorcery side is sacrificing creatures. The front side is getting them back from the graveyard. Okay, so there's definitely some interesting synergy there. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. Create a 3/6 black and red avatar creature token with haste. And whenever this creature attacks, it deals 3 damage to each opponent. Okay, so, you know, I mean, 8 mana, you're never going to cast it for that, right? So it costs 2 less for each creature sacrificed this way. Obviously, you're only going to pay 2 for this, right? You're going to sacrifice 3 creatures and reduce this to just a black and a red. So for a black and a red, you're getting a 3/6 black and red avatar creature token with haste, and when it attacks right away, it does 3 damage to each opponent. That's pretty good. You know, the only thing is, you're going to cast this. So now we're getting into some rules issues here. You're right. You're going to cast this. Let's say you cast it relatively early. You throw out some tokens. You sacrifice them. You cast it relatively early. As it resolves, it goes to the graveyard. And whenever I guess this is your commander, right? I mean, this is where it's kind of getting silly, right? This is technically your commander, this spell. So it goes to the graveyard. And since it's changed zones, now you can put it back in the command zone, right? Or do you? Like, maybe what you do is you leave it in the graveyard, and because it is going to be now on its front side, in the graveyard, it's its front side. You know, as far as I understand with these MDFC cards, if they're in any other zone other than the battlefield, they're their front side, right? So if you're searching for them, you know, if you search for an instant or sorcery with like a mystical tutor, you can't get this card out of your library because it's a creature in your library. That, as far as I know, that's how it works. So in your graveyard, this is a creature, not a sorcery. So now you can reanimate it and bring it back into play, and it'll come in again as the front side. It's definitely not overpowered, I don't think. It's interesting for sure. Just don't know how I feel about that you know, sorcery in the command zone. I don't know. I guess that's the direction it was inevitable to go in. Moving on, Tanazir Quandrix, the Simic Elder Dragon. So this is the Simic one. It's 5 mana, 3, a green and a blue, 4/4 flying trample. When Tanazir Quandrix enters the battlefield, double the number of +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. Okay, so now we're already in the +1/+1 counters theme, which Simic does a lot, obviously. I'm always worried reading these Simic commanders because I'm like, oh boy, here we go. What's it going to do? Cast a bunch of spells for free or draw a zillion cards, right? When Tanazir Quandrix attacks, you may have the base power and toughness of other creatures you control become equal to Tanazir Quandrix power and toughness until end of turn. Okay, that's weird. Those abilities don't seem to work together well, because you're going to double the number of +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, which isn't Tanazir. He doesn't have any counters on him. So you're going to double another creature's power, and then when he attacks, you turn all your creatures into 4/4s. So those two don't seem to match. I mean, obviously you can build around it. I mean, first things first, Cold-Eyed Selkie and Cephalid Constable, right? Those two cards go in this deck. I built a Eutropia deck that was that theme. I put +1/+1 counters on those two creatures particularly. There are other creatures that do stuff like that, but those two are the best because you draw a ton of cards, you bounce a ton of permanents. You can just end the game with Cephalid Constable if you get him big enough. I mean, you attack with Cephalid Constable, he becomes a 4/4. Bounce 4 permanents. You know, Cold-Eyed Selkie is going to draw you 4 cards. That's really good. So those are auto includes in this deck. The +1/+1 counters thing is weird though, because I mean, what you could do is you could put Great Henge type effects in there, right? So Tanazir is going to enter the battlefield. You'll stack the triggers so that you get the +1/+1 counter on it from Great Henge first, and then you double the number of counters on it, right? Because you double the number of +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, right? Which includes Tanazir. But you got to put counters on it first, right? So yeah, you have some effect like that, and then if you had hardened scales, it would be another counter. So you just have to stack it so that this ability resolves last, and then you double it. So now it can be a 6/6 or a 7/7, right? So you can do that. It's interesting, you know. Again, the Cephalid Constable, Cold-Eyed Selkie thing come to mind first. Other than that, definitely not super busted. Definitely middle of the road for a Simic commander anyway. Next up, Gala, Zeth, Prismari. This is the Izzet Elder Dragon. So 4 mana, 2 blue, red. Elder Dragon, 3/4, flying. When Gala, Zeth, Prismari enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. Okay, so it is a treasure token commander, maybe? That Goldspan Dragon, I think, would probably definitely go in here, right? Artifacts you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast instant or sorcery spells. Okay, so is this another Urza? This is another Urza, isn't it? I mean, it's not the exact same, but it sure is similar. Yeah, very similar. Instead of the construct token, you get a treasure token. Instead of tap for blue, you're tapping for any mana of any color. So the treasure token you create, basically what you're doing, if you do a treasure token theme, basically instead of a ritual effect, and by the way, treasure tokens are a ritual effect. It's a one-time thing. It's not ramp. I can't stand when people call it ramp. It's not ramp. Ramp is permanent. You know, a mana rock, putting extra lands into play, that's ramp. Treasure token is not ramp. It is a ritual effect. It's a one-time thing, right? Just like Mana Geyser. Mana Geyser is not ramp. It's a ritual. They're different. There's a reason why we have different names for these things. So basically what he's doing is he's turning all your treasure tokens into ramp instead of rituals, right? Basically, I mean, Dockside Extortionist is an auto-include in this deck, but, you know, I'm just wondering if this, I mean, the mana can only be spent to cast instant and sorcery spells. Okay, so it's a little limiting. However, is this not just another Urza? Isn't it? Like, the reason why Urza is essentially just a CEDH commander. And the reason why is because it makes such a fantastic stacks commander. And the reason why is because cards like Winter Orb and Static Orb say on them, if they're untapped, okay, you can shut them off by tapping them. So what you do is you tap them to add mana. You use Urza's ability to tap your Winter Orb on your opponent's end step, so on your turn, all your lands untap. So basically, all your opponent's lands stay tapped and yours untap. And, you know, that's such a massive advantage that it's really hard for your opponents to come back from that, right? This does the same thing. You can go the exact same route with this, where I just play a Winter Orb, and then I tap my Winter Orb for any color of mana. Oh, I can only spend it to cast an instant or sorcery spell. Oh, no. I mean, you don't do that much in CEDH, right? Counter spells or what. I mean, you don't even have to use the mana. You can just tap it, shut it off. You don't even have to, who cares about whether you spend the mana or not, right? You know, again, this would be a really interesting card to build around, but I just have a feeling this is going to go straight to CEDH maybe. So all those people that are getting excited about this guy, I'm actually going to make I'm going to make a list here probably right away about commanders that essentially you just can't play in a casual game because they're just CEDH commanders and that's it. Like, if you show up, again, in your play group, it's different because you can say, hey, I'm playing Golem Tribal with my Urza deck or whatever. But if you show up to a table with random people or online with an Urza deck, everyone's going to go, ooh, that's a C, right? You're going to have to do some convincing, right? And this guy might go the same direction. You know, that would be my only concern with that, is that he's going to go the direction of, like, you're just basically, this is Urza, except you're adding red now too. I mean, Urza's maybe better because of that last ability he has where you can cast stuff up the top of your library. Like, usually what people do is Dramatic Versal, Isochron Scepter with Urza, and then you get infinite mana and you just keep casting stuff off the top of your library. But also he's a really good stacks commander too. So, and you can do that with Gala Zeth as well. So yeah, I don't know. I guess only time will tell. And lastly today, Cody. Okay, Cody. Oh boy, that's funny. It's a book, you know. And I thought when I first saw this, I was like, oh, this weird new artifact. And I started reading it because I didn't realize it was a legendary artifact creature. Its name is Cody. I mean, come on. Vociferous Codex. Cody the Codex. Oh boy. Okay, so again, this one I actually read ahead of time because I didn't realize it was a legendary artifact creature. So now we have essentially this is just an artifact. I mean, sure, it's an artifact creature. It's a book. Right, so now your commander can be a book, and it's very unique. I mean, the first thing I see, without even reading this card, the first thing I see is it's like another Golos, right? It's a colorless commander that you can cast for any mana that gives you every color of mana, which I don't love. That's, to me, what makes Golos so ridiculous, is he can be your commander for any deck, right? Golos can be, you can take any of your decks and put Golos as the commander because he is technically a 5-color commander, but he only costs colorless mana, right? And Cody is the same. However, you can't cast permanent spells, okay? So it's a legendary artifact creature, construct 1/4. You can't cast permanent spells. That's a big deal, right? That's a big, big deal. So this ability it has must be really good, and it is. You pay 4 and add 5, all right? So you're gaining 1. Right? But more importantly, you're gaining a mana of each color, right? You're getting Wooburg, white, blue, black, red, and green. When you cast your next spell this turn, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile an instant or sorcery card with lesser mana value. Until end of turn, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. So, I mean, this is a tough one. I mean, I like that they're putting limitations on it. You can't cast permanent spells, but This is Cascade, right? Essentially, I guess it's only instant or sorcery, right? So it's Cascade, but only instant or sorcery. But guess what? You can't cast permanent spells, so this deck's only going to be instant sorcery anyway. I mean, this is a spell book, obviously. It's like a legendary spell book that has like a, and I guess I play D&D. So if we go into the D&D realm, which I guess they are going to eventually go, it's an intelligent artifact. It's what in D&D you call an intelligent artifact. It's an artifact that has essentially a personality. So I guess that's the theme they're going with. I don't hate it. I got to say, it is kind of interesting and unique. I love that they put this limitation on it, that you can't cast permanent spells. But I don't love, like, this is just another Golos, and there's a reason why Golos is the most popular commander in the entire format, because you can do anything with him, right? He can be the commander for any deck. This can't, because of that limitation, which is good. I like that. Yeah, maybe this is a little trickier than I originally thought. Maybe I like this. Yeah, because you can only can't cast permanent spells, so you're not going to have any in your deck anyway, right? So now you can't even play Soul Ring. This really puts some limitations on you. I mean, you could put a Soul Ring in your deck and just use it to get Cody out faster, because you can cast permanent spells before he's in play, obviously. But are you going to do that? Then what happens if you cast your Cody and then draw Soul Ring? Now it's a dead card in your hand, right? I don't think you want to take that chance. Yeah, I don't know. There might be some busted things you can do with this, but I actually think I'm okay with this. I don't love 5-color commanders, period. I don't love the idea that you have a commander that costs colorless and is technically a 5-color commander. Again, you're sort of skirting the rules a little bit. This is so obviously a commander card. I mean, I guess, could you play this in standard? I don't know. But this is obviously a commander card, right? If it wasn't, they would have just made it a artifact, right? They would have just made it an artifact creature or an artifact construct. They made it a legendary artifact creature on purpose so that you could use it as your commander. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting, and I like that they put limitations on it so that it makes it more fair. Maybe they're learning their lesson here. I hope that they really are. And I talked yesterday about the Boros commanders and how are they getting too good? They're not. I think I was overreacting a little. Maybe I'm overreacting with this card. Maybe I'm overreacting with the sorcery in the command zone. I don't know. This is first impressions. And it's just like when they make a new border, like this legendary border that they created for legendary cards. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, what is that crap? And I actually like it. It actually does look nice. So I come around, and even my Kaldheim spoilers, I talked a lot about some of the cards that were super busted and, oh, what are we doing? And I don't know, maybe I overreacted a little. The Boros commanders are actually definitely really fair and well done. There's nothing so far of all the spoilers I've done. 19 or 20 commanders I've already talked about. Not a single one of them is really, nothing upsets me, right? Nothing is worrying me. That is nothing is going to wreck the format, I don't think. There is a card. It's not a legendary creature, but there is a card I've seen that I will, eventually talk about that I'm really concerned about. It's not a legendary creature though, so yeah. The only thing is sorcery in the command zone. I don't know how much I love that, but other than that, pretty good. I'm thus far very impressed. What do you guys think? So far, so good, I think. So yeah, that is it for today. More Strixhaven spoilers. Thank you for tuning in.